The first National Trans Visibility March took place on September 28, 2019 in Washington, D.C. With over 5,300 attendees, this historic event brought together both transgender individuals and allies from all over the United States.
We are tired of fighting for our country on foreign soil and then being told that we are no longer fit to serve. We are tired of our murders going without any justice and our murderers out there free. We want to be free, and that's why we are here. I want you to repeat after me. I am here. I am here. Yes, ma'am. We need to take back our narrative. We are not victims. We are not statistics. We are not tragedies. We are waiting to thrive, and this is our best year yet, because we aren't here simply to be visible. We are here to be victorious. So when we move forward today, let us press forward with purpose, let us press forward with passion, and let us know that the fight has just begun.
Hello.
Hey, oh my God. Y'all, if that didn't just inspire you, if that 2 minute, I think I'm gonna ask if we can roll that again at the end of this, because that just my entire spirit, that lifted all of the soul that I have up in me. And I mean, that was a beautiful way to start this conversation in particular. I can't even, I usually compliment my sister Tati, but I couldn't even get into the compliments today because that it was so well put together and so inspiring. So thank you to our team. Thank you to Danny and Epiphany and all the folks that work behind the scenes tirelessly to put together that content and give us those feels. Thank y'all so much. But without further ado, hey y'all, what's going on? We back again. It's me, Giselle, and my amazing sister, Miss Tatiana Williams. What's going on, Tati? How you doing?
Everything is going on, honey. I mean, everything is going on. This week has been challenging to say the least. I'm excited to be here. I've tried to get as much rest as I can today, and my weekend and next week is probably going to be busy as hell. I can't wait for the vice president debate. Seeing the debate, just to tap on why we're here,
Right.
Talking about voting in, earlier this week. Listen, honey, I'm not sure what to call it. I'm not sure how I was left. I don't know what to think. But what it did do was show me how much. What it did show me is like, here you go.
Yeah.
This is it. So
people haven't realized by now that one, the rules are not set up for us to win. You watch people where the rules are very much so set up for them to win and they still can't get it together.
Right.
And I understand that there are a lot of folks that are still feeling a way about voting. And as Tati and I told y'all last time, like this is not the space to give up. This is not the time for give up. This is not the space for us to say, look at these two fools on here, a natural behind. This is the time for us to be more empowered than ever to make sure that we can change this. I know that it's going to be a long stretch, y'all. It's going to be a long stretch. But I think that what we saw in that debate It's the idea that we as people of color, us as the most marginalized of folks, have not been doing our job to make sure things like that don't happen. So
Right.
that's why we're here today. We're here to, give you all, lace y'all up on some of the things that we think are important about organizing. So Tati and myself are organizers on different levels. And so we're just gonna drop some hints, tips, and tricks off to you all as well. Get y'all pumped up for the march on Saturday. We are so excited. So excited.
Yes, I'm excited to see.
I can't. I'm on
Because
my
last year was amazing. I
yeah.
mean, amazing, you know. So I just could imagine what you all have planned, like what that looks like for everyone that's going to DC, who are in DC or in near surrounding areas of DC. I just could imagine what that's going to look like. I'm excited to see, and I'm just glad that everybody's been tuning in to our events leading up to the march. That's great. So I'm excited. We just need to show up and show out.
I mean, I got a little big. But we have a couple of guests that are coming through the space. A couple of girls you may know, a couple of girls you may not know, a couple of guys and folks and peoples and things that are coming. Got a couple of appearances from some folks on all sides of the community, all races and gender expressions that are coming. And I think the thing that I'm most excited about is the Pride Mobile. I really beyond ecstatic about this double-decker bus that we are going to ride around. And I first of all, I haven't done a double-decker bus moment since London, so I'm really excited about the idea of doing one in the middle of DC with all of the black and brown and all of the transit that's going to be on that bus. So
Hmm.
things that I can say for now. I might give y'all a couple of extra, little pieces as we continue the conversation. But for now, I'm gonna leave y'all with that. So it's giving bigger and better this year, and I really appreciate it. And I want to thank our sponsors, one of our main sponsors, and of course, Capital Pride, who helped to get that bus that I am so excited to be on, up and running. So, Tati,
Mm-hmm.
give us a little bit about what you think about organizing ways that people can organize themselves outside of the market. Like, we're all excited to do that, but what are some of the ways that you found yourself as an executive director, motivating your team to do work outside of what y'all do in the office?
Outside of the march.
Outside of the march, outside of what y'all do on a day, like what do you find yourself? Because you're so motivational on a daily basis, and so what do you find?
Well, what I find myself to be motivational for our community is let's go there. A lot of our community members are marginalized, underserved, and what I try to tell them to look outside of that. And for me, what mobilization looks like is community building, like tapping into your sisters and your brothers and our siblings, and understanding that we all may have our differences at some degree, but at the end of the day, we are fighting the same fight. So outside of the work that we do as it relates to the policy, the protesting, and all of that stuff, as it relates to the work when we're trying to create these movements and create visibility, is how do we love on each other, right? What does that look like building family? Because a lot of times we are our sisters and brothers and siblings keeper. So that for me is one of the things that I try and tap into, and have community members to tap into just loving one another, because it starts within, right? You can't expect for people to see us in a certain light, right? If we are not exemplifying that within our own family. And some people like to say, well, I don't feel like I'm family in the community. However, but the fact of the matter is there's a lot of things that we don't feel inclusive of. And there are a lot of dysfunctional families, not just within our family, right? And when you think about the general public, when you think about the hetero community, please know it's not perfect there as well. So, I try to keep people together, more family based. And I will always say this, like with our weekly group with Trans Inclusive, that's what it was based on. It was more of a family, not a support group or anything. It's more of a family. And if we look at it that way, we probably can tackle a lot of things a little bit better, and understanding like, yeah, you may disagree with your sister, your brother, your sibling, but however, just understanding what family looks like.
Oh, oh. Now, see, I don't, because I'm so unfamily oriented from my biological family. But I will say that definitely does help when I feel like I have a space where I can actually call the people in the room, my sisters, my brothers, my siblings. Um, and it actually, I think, especially when you have a good family unit that wants to see you well. So I think any organizational body having a group of people that all have sort of the same ideology and goals around wanting to support one another, no matter what that support looks like, is
Right.
definitely going to be. I think for me, a lot of the work that I want to do is make sure that people are doing their research and making sure that people are well equipped with the information that they need. So I know for anybody that follows me, for all of the folks, for most of you all that, follow and stay on my content, I am really big on the idea of making sure that I don't have to backtrack on information, making sure that, folks are safe with the information that I do disseminate. And I think that for all of you people out there that want to organize, and I get this question a lot, is like, how do I get into organization? How do I, become an activist? How do I do things outside of the march, right? What do I do outside of voting to show people and to be able to lead people into the next thing? After these elections. And I think for me, it's going to be about doing your research, understanding what it is that you're fighting for, and letting people know exactly why they should join you in that fight. You can't just run out and I mean, we can, and we have fruitful and effective way to work. But I definitely think that work gets done a lot better and a lot more effectively when we know about the laws that are in place, when we understand, the permits that are needed to actually protest in a way that kind of protects us and the people that we're inviting to those protests. Understanding the best ways of protection, the newest ways of protection, linking up with other groups and people who have, already been arrested and trying to figure out how to not get arrested, right? The goal isn't to go down as martyrs for the community. The goal is to actually create change and sustain visibility. And so for me, I do think that the family aspect and the family junction does help me with that, like Tatiana says, because when I know that I have my family support, my family behind me, whether they go with me to march or not, or whether they go with me to protest or organize or not, I feel safe knowing that there are people at the crib that if something does happen to me, they're not going to sit back quietly. But also, in the work that I do, in the way that I organize, I want to go out there making sure that my family does not have to come out of the crib, and speak up for me on those notes. And so I think that those are things that I really want to encourage you all to keep between Tatiana and myself. Make sure that you have that family unit, that family support, even if it's only one or two folks. But then also make sure that before you go out there, make sure that before you spit out your messaging, that you know what you're talking about, that you're not only protecting yourself, but that you're protecting other people. As an organizer, you are going to be responsible for all of the folks that choose to organize with you. And so keep that on your mind before you just run out there trying to get your 10 seconds of fame, because it's not about that.
And you said something important that I always say, and people think when I say this that I'm being catty or I'm saying something, snapping. But when I say before you can do the work, you have to understand the work, right? And a lot of people say they want to do the work and don't understand the work, and we just making a lot of noise and we don't have an ask. We don't understand what policy look like locally or state. It's a lot of things that come into play that we need to understand when we're talking about doing this work. We could make a whole lot of noise, but if we don't even know what we're doing, know what we're asking for, we're just doing just that, making a whole lot of noise. So it's important. And when I say that humbly, I'm like, I say this with respect to my siblings that want to, advocate, do this type of work, because I was thrust into it. I tell people, I didn't wake up and say, I'm going to be an advocate. That's not what happened with me. I just got in spaces and where I seen unjust, and when I seen things that was happening that I knew not to be right, and me having my own educational background and understanding certain things, I spoke up. Now that one thing just led to another, and I'm like, okay, you can call me that, but I didn't think about it that way. It's just that I'm speaking up against injustices, as it relates to our community. That's how I seen it. And when people when people believe in you, and we all have these platforms, and it's not things that we ask for, it's just people that believe in the work, believe in the vision, and people can see when it's genuine and when it's real and when it's not. So make sure when you're doing it that it's coming from a genuine place, because a lot of people are coming into spaces just to come because it looks like the next thing to do. But at the same time, we do need everybody, and understanding that in this fight, we all don't have to be on the front lines, because every position is important. Even if you are bringing someone to the polls, or you're helping someone get to XYZ, or you're like, I'm gonna bring some water, I'm gonna bring a sandwich, understanding what that looks like and how do we work together as a team, and that's one of the things that I try and explain to people, is like, everybody is not made to be on the front line. Everybody wasn't on the front line with Martin, Malcolm, and all that. It's just that understanding your place is important.
Yes. I think that, especially as we move forward, there's something that you said that I want to touch on. If you are doing this for the idea that you're gonna be the next X, Y, and Z, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. I like to tell people all the time that activism does not pay. You know what I'm saying? Activism does not make people, all of the things that you are searching for as far as, trying to get a leg up on the competition will not be found in activism. People support work. People support the work that you do. People support the movements that you make possible. People support the change that you incorporate happening. They don't necessarily support the person. And I think that what a lot of folks get into this for is those moments on CNN, those moments on MSNBC that may never happen. And it's just like, I think that there has to be space, right? There has to be space for some of us to realize, you know what? I'm great with graphics. I'm going to be the graphics person whenever they need somebody to drop a logo. You know what? I really know the judicial system. I'm going to make sure that my brothers, sisters, and others know how to combat X, Y, and Z when they're out there. You know what? I have a friend who owns a bail bonds company. I'm going to make sure that if anybody gets arrested, that we get cut a really great deal for the community doing this work. And I think that if people really played their roles, stayed in the lanes that actually suited them versus always trying to be the next, we would have so much more work done. And I think that that's what this conversation is about. It's not just about enabling people or Tati and I giving you all the skills to go out there and, like she said, be on the front lines, because being on the front lines is not for everybody. It's not. Trust me, it ain't. I done got paper sprayed too many times. I done been handcuffed too many times. I done been pushed on the ground. It is not fun. It look cute pictures and all that. It look real revolutionary, but it is not fun. And some people, that's not your role. That's just not your ministry. And that's okay. I think that there's going to have to be room for us to be able to sit back, if you all want to organize outside of the march, outside of getting people to the polls, to be able to say, what is it that I can do and who is it that I can support? Me and Tati talk about this almost every time we get on here. Support whatever organizations that you can support. It is like, sometimes if we link up together, we can get a lot more done. And I think that if we really start to look at who's doing what and offer our support to some of those organizations and get some duality going, we'll be able to get a lot farther than we've been getting, especially after this election, no matter how it turns out.
Exactly. And in speaking about the election, and when we're at the polls, it's important to do your research, right? Especially in your own state. Because I learned something valuable. I was talking to a friend girl of mine from Texas, and she said to me, she was like, well, here that the mail-in ballots only count if the election is closed. And I say, I did not know that. So I researched it, and it is true. So you want to understand, like, how it moves in your state, so you know exactly what it is that you need to do to make sure that your votes are counted. And of course, she getting her ass up off the couch and going to vote and make sure that her vote is counted. But at the same time, we want to understand what are the other seats and what are those other offices that are important, because some of those local offices make the difference as well in our community. So you don't want to just get stuck on the president, and understanding what that looks like and who is supporting your agenda. You have to research these things, and you want to know prior to getting to the poll, doing some of that research, getting your knowledge, looking at some of their agendas, more than often than not, that they have a website. that's going to tell you exactly what's going on, what they do, what they support, what they do not support. And then you'll be able to make your judgment and your decision on how you want to vote at that time. So it's important to understand, like, all of these things make the difference. And sometimes we go in spaces and we think president, 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 which is important. I want to be clear, that's important too, but there's other offices that makes the difference as it relates to a lot of things that happen, civil rights protections within your state, who's here, your state attorney, when it comes to your girlfriends, we getting arrested, whatever that looks like, making sure you getting someone that support us in our community, LGBTQ community.
You want to think to get more clarity about what Tatiana, I think that some of the offices that people fail to realize need a lot of and are going to be offices like the office of the mayor, like the office of the governor, like the office of our GOP. Like we need to make sure that people are for the people, because those people control what is happening in your cities. Those people control the districts. Those people control how your city council meetings are run and all of those things, and they address your concerns. The potholes that of your streets. Sometimes it's not always about the humanity or injustices within the streets, but it's about making sure that the streets are even livable. There are so many people who are voted into office right now who don't care about the sides of the sidewalk on your side of town because they don't live there. There are people who have never been through a struggle. And so, yeah, when you call your governor and you say, hey, this is what's happening during coronavirus, they don't care because on their side of town, they're fully stocked. Everything is, going the way that it should. And so I think that we need to make sure that as we're, voting for these people, don't just vote for the people that come to your church, yell and scream on Sunday. Say, vote for the people that truly, that have truly had a track record of being there, that have truly had a track record of showing up for the community before they got this title. Those things are just as important as voting for the president of the United States. Learning those positions and learning that, this person might be a great candidate, but actually when I look deep into it as it stands on trans issues, this person is a bit of a bigot, right? And so maybe it might be something where they might be great for the community, but you might want to dig a little deeper and go to one of their rallies and figure out how they truly feel about the issues that will affect you most. A lot of us sidetracked and blindsided by these presidential runnings, and we need to make sure that the people that are actually going to be living with us day in and day out and making the decisions on what budget happens and where it goes in our states and our cities, we need to make sure that those people have their heads on straight. Because if they can't represent us well, then we're never going to get, a peace of mind within the communities that we live in, because they don't care about the communities that we live in on a grassroots level.
Yeah, and the segue into that, you said something, and now since it's completed, and I think overall nationally, what we were at a 62% rate, something like that, and that determines the resources that happens within your local community. Some people don't think that's important, don't think that it matters, but it does matter because that determines how many representatives your state have. All of that stuff makes sure the money, the resources, when things like COVID happen, right? The money that gets allocated to your particular community, because if they think the heads are there, the bodies are there, the more money comes to your community. So sometimes we don't take the time to understand what some of this look like, the importance of telling your community members, this is why you need to be there, or this is why you need to do XYZ, which is when I go back, understanding what these things are in place as it relates to our community. People like to, and we spoke about this last time, Hope, they like to tell me, oh, I'm not subscribing to no system, and a system that's not working for us, and all of that stuff that they tell me. Yes, and me and Hope, because listen, I sit in a room and I want my people to be as honest with me as I'm going to be honest with them. And these are the conversations that they have. And I respect everyone. I'm meeting you where you at. And so when they come with that, we're not going to argue and fight. We're going to have an intelligent conversation. And that's what we have. And they tell me these are my views. And this is why I feel this way. And my thing to them is, I look at it this way. You don't have to be a full supporter of anything, but just understanding what that equitable, what equality look like, especially for our community. And no one is perfect, right? I'm not jumping off the building for nobody. But at the same time, I do know if this bus is going this way and it's going to get me closer to home, I'm gonna jump on this bus, and I may have to walk a little bit with you a little ways, but I'm just gonna take this bus. And that's what happened. And I think sometimes when we look at it too technical, and I say this at the same time, we all come with something. I know I'm not perfect. I know there are things that I've done in the past that I wish I wouldn't have. But I say it shaped me who I am today. I've learned a lot along this journey. And what we have to understand, we have to give people the same understanding that we expect for people to give to us. So, people want to bring up, well, Joe this and this person is that and they this, that. You have to look at it differently, because if you want people to forgive and respect you for something, and we have to learn, we grow. And some people do grow. And you have to give them that opportunity, especially the way things have been happening in our community. And if a person is in our community and they're not growing, they're not educating themselves, and they're not doing better or trying to show us how they're doing better, then we have a problem. But if you have a candidate that won't even denounce white supremacy or all of this stuff, and you're saying, well, this person is this person is that, I think that we have to put our hats on, we have to, there are some things, it is what it is, right? And I'm not telling you who and what to do and who to vote for. I'm just telling you to just move with some common sense, whatever that looks like for you.
Whatever that like for you. Hear me? Whatever like for you, darling. I think that that's a really great segue into why the march is important. We've had so many people say, like, we love the idea of the trans march. I'm coming. I'm going to support. I want to be there. But I'm not really sure what I'm supporting, right? Outside of the obvious, the girls are continuously dying. The boys are dying. Our non-binary family, believe it or not, whether we get the stories the same way that we get the others, they are dying. And they're outside of that. We've all been able to see the ways in which the current administration and government has made it extremely difficult for trans people to exist and live in our own space cohesively with the rest of the population. And this should not be something that we have to think about on a daily basis. As LGBT people, and especially as trans folks who are marginalized, usually even within the LGBT community, this march is to stand in solidarity and show visibility. It goes back to what Tatiana was saying about some of those spots. When people understand that the heads are there, that people care, that the voices will be lifted, then oftentimes they tend to realize, you know what, we can't push this group around like we thought that we could push this group around. And we actually have to show up in a way that is going to be substantial. This march is about making sure that people show up in ways that are substantial. This march is about reminding our young ones that it is not just enough to say that you're going to vote on social media and then miss your poll deadline. It's not, it's about making sure that you understand not only that there are 28 trans deaths that have been reported this year, but that you understand that to stop that, we have to make sure that people feel like there is fear in killing trans people. Right now, the reason that we are coming up dead, missing, dismembered, and floating all over the United States is because nobody fears what happens to them when harming a trans person. Nobody, they all have come to the consensus, the same way that our president has shown us time and time and time again that Black lives do not matter. Our social system, our justice system, our government, our heads of states and governors and all of those things have also shown us that trans lives do not matter outside of gimmicky protests and painting things on streets. We need to let them know that while we see and while those things are nice and they're fine and dandy, we want healthcare. We need to let them know that we want to feel safe walking down the streets at night. We want them to know that sex work needs to be legalized, not just for cis women, but for trans women. We need them to understand that LGBT people, whether they be non-binary or trans men, also need to be factored into the idea of healthcare and pregnancy and prenatal care and all of those things. These are things that we, have to fight for, and this is why this march is happening. It is not just some cliche thing that we want to throw together to say that trans people got together for a weekend and screamed in the streets of DC. This is something that we want to use as a tool, which is why I'm really happy this year to talk about how we have gone virtual, and we have people from all over the world, including South Africa. Trans people exist outside of that one girl that lives on your block, and we need to remind people that that's true.
You said something that I have to tap on because it brought something up for me. You said people ask, what is it we supporting? What is it what we're doing? What you're supporting is your community. That community that you say that you so love, that you so want to work for, you're supporting your community. And again, these are the questions that I ask these people that say that, and they give me all these reasons why. And I'm like, so you're moving from a personal space, because if you are truly about community, you would know how to put that to the side and move and work for community. And I think oftentimes a lot of our people, this is what I tell people when we're talking about leaders, when we're talking about true organizers, because a true leader understands how to put his or their personal feelings to the side and understand what the movement look like. When you think about the Million Man marches, when you think about these marches on DC as it relates to the heterosexual community, this is what it's for. We're trying to show them that we do matter, that we do count, that we are here. That's what it's for. It's not about you, it's about us. And that's the thing that I think our community forgets, and that's what they need to remember. This isn't about you, and this is what I stay telling people. Let's take you out of the equation. Let's just come on, let's come out the box, come out of you, because I have my own personal feelings about certain things. Let's come out of that. So how do we support? How do we build? How do we mobilize? How do we grow our community? And this is what it looks like on a national level. And I tell people we won't. We were born from different parents. We grew up in different spaces, different regions. So we do have different thought processes. But understanding that one common goal and what we're trying to achieve and what we're trying to do. And when you think about the Black women and the women of color that did something so genuine and so great to be able to make this happen, and the support that we're getting from all our community partners and stakeholders in the community. And then you as a trans person or whatever that may be, say, what are we doing it for? What do you mean, sweetheart? What are we doing it for? We're doing it for us. That's why we're doing it. And this is the thing that I get lost sometimes. And this is the thing that make me get defeated sometimes. Like, okay, well, if we're doing all this, what's going on? Because we working hard, you and I, we working our ass off trying to get people in. And you are very opinionated, smart young woman. I consider myself to be a smart, opinionated woman and have my own thought process. But what I do know how to do in the process is put my personal feelings, I'm going to sit them over here. And now what we doing together as a community, what we doing, where you need me at, what can I do? Let's do that. That's what it looks like. That's why you're there. That's what it's about.
I agree. 110. I think that this march is about exactly what Tatiana explained. Outside of the political stuff, I think that this march is about showing that we can stand in solidarity and have differences of opinions. We can stand in solidarity and work with one another and put aside all of the things that don't matter in that moment to say that trans people are people, trans women are women, trans men are men, gender nonconforming people are not confused. We can stand in those spaces and say all of those things together and still disagree on certain topics, but agree that we all need to be seen as human beings, and that is okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
But that's what we have to study. It's okay. The thing about, especially, and I like to say, my core real girlfriends and people that understand me, they know I'm gonna talk, I'm gonna tell you my opinion. I'm gonna talk my mess, but at the same time, after I done talk my mess and we done cussed each other out, we still gonna go out and sit down and eat like ain't nothing happened. Because we understand that's just how we move. And I think we have to understand what that looks like. And I just think about, especially in newer times, I'm like, come on, people, we can do this, because things are opening up. And when I think about when I transitioned way back yonder, and I'm thinking about, we didn't have half the resources or visibility that we have today, and we have opportunities. They are creating spaces for us to be at these tables. I mean, we are in positions where we're representing councils and all that stuff. So that's important. And we need more of that type of representation. So if you can show the community or show state, national representatives that we matter, that'll get more of us in office. Because for me, that's what I envision. I envision having a trans representative in each state. not just one here and there. In each state, we should have one. And that way we'll get something done. But that looks like moving in solidarity. That looks like building community. That don't look like you moving in a space where it's just about you and your own personal processes. So, I mean, it is what it is. And hopefully we'll stay on track. And we have 32 days before the election. Is 32, 31, 32, I think. And have everybody check their registration. So what are you doing to make sure that you have everything in place, right? Did you make sure that you have the correct polling place for your own area? You want to make sure that and each state have different rules and guidelines. So and I say that because that's important, because I'm going to thank for the state of Florida. So that's why I'm not telling you anything as it relates to the state of Florida, because I don't want to send no confusing messages. However, I think we do owe it to ourselves, if you are voting, I hope so, to do your state research so you know exactly what you need to do.
So here at the National, the National Virtual Trans March, we are compiling a bunch of resources that will be available on the website. They're going to go ahead and put the website. It's going to scroll across there, right? It's going to scroll right up the screen in just a minute. But we have the website, and there are tons of resources that will be available on the website. It's not just about the march, but we have things that actually enable you all to have resources to understand voting in different cities, to understand what it's going to look like to poll. We also have a couple of folks within the community who have decided that they wanted to create safe space voting polls. Are going to happen all over the U.S. So make sure that you're not just following the march just when the march is happening, because the march is, we go all year round. This is a 24 hours a day sort of operation. We talk to each other at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, even though I'm not happy about y'all emailing me. But with operation that goes 365 days a year, it does not stop once the march is over. We are constantly working on ways to make it better, bigger, and partner with so many different amazing people. This year, we're partnered with not only TD Bank and Capital Pride, but we're partnered with Barilla and AIDS United, and all of these amazing people that have said, we want to be on the right side of history. We in a space where we can help you all. TD Bank is offering an amazing space where they're going to offer trans business owners, small business owners, some actual classes on how to really sustain your business. We all know, or if you have been a business owner, or if you know a friend who's a business owner, the first 2 years are the years where most people go out of business, because it is very hard to make one. And so to have a nationally recognized bank like TD Bank give financial advice to Black and brown trans people is monumental. To have a brand like Barilla, we all have probably a box of pasta in our house right now, somewhere back with the logo. And like that is internationally recognized, say we want to be on the right side of history and we want to support this march, because we understand that the lives of trans people are detrimental, right, to society and culture and all of the things that they contribute. And to have them say that they want to continuously work with us even after the march is over, those things are monumental. So please make sure that you are hopping onto the website, you're getting those resources, because we don't know what's going to come to us in a month, a week, 2 weeks. We don't know who's going to come and say, we have this resource and we want to offer it to the community. So please don't let your support for the march stop after Saturday. Be there for our work that we're going to be doing. We're have different people set up in different cities to actually drive folks to the polls. It was an idea that was sponsored by Tori, who is now the HRC trans liaison there. And, she actually took her time, her gas money in her car, took a day off and made sure that trans people got to the polls. And so we thank Tori for that, because now we're going to make sure that people in different cities get those things done. If you want to volunteer for that, get on the site, send us an email, let us know stuff that you are doing these things. This is not just about, one specific group of trans folks. Like Tatiana said, this is about putting aside all of the crap and really getting the work done and making sure that we can sustain it. And so without further ado, Tati, unless you have something else that you want to drop off on the people, I just want to say sure that you all tune in on Saturday if you're coming in virtually. If you're going to be in Washington, D.C. with me, I can't wait to see you. And outside of that, if you want to host a watch party, I believe that the registration is still open. It will be on the website, so do not quote me. I think that it is still open if you'd like to host a watch party. You will not get one of our awesome action kids, but you'll still be able to host one, I think.
So how many stops is it, Hope, for the march? How many stops in DC is it?
So from what I remember, y'all, I have a lot on my plate. But from what I remember, there's about 6 stops with 6 different amazing people that are going to be speaking. That include Ashley Marie Preston. We have Spirit McIntyre. You're going to be checking the Rocks in California. You'll be checking in with Nala Simonette, Toussaint in New York. You might get a visit from Jari Jones. And if you don't know her, Jari is, one of the people that broke the mold by being a Calvin Klein model. She is a big, beautiful, black, non-conventional,
yes,
size, trans woman was out there on the Calvin Klein and just booked a major deal with Lil Nas X and his campaign. So
yes.
we're going to have a bunch of different people that will check in and that will be speaking. Ashley Marie Preston is going to definitely rock the house as she always does.
Always.
We'll be seeing and hearing a little bit from Alfonso, who is the president of HRC, to talk a little bit more about their involvement within the trans community. We'll be seeing from Tori, who is the trans liaison there, who will be talking a little bit more about what she has planned. And so it's going to be an amazing set of days. We're going to stop at Smile, which I absolutely love the organization. They are, my favorite little organization that helps the kids. And they were really, really influential when COVID first struck with making sure that people had all of the resources. Smile, I don't know who their team is, but those people work tirelessly because they never ran out of something to do when COVID started for the kids. We'll also be stopping in with Check It, the group in DC that made it known that trans people were not the people to be bothered, and now they've taken what was a rough start and turned it into a Cinderella story. So we'll be checking in with them. And the march will start at TD Bank. We'll move to the White House, the Supreme Court. So we're hitting a bunch of different marches.
Yes.
And it's going to be a really dope ride. So I hope that most of you all tune in and you're able to watch that unfold if you're not able to actually be there in person.
Now, that's dope. I needed them to know all the details. Now, they know that's dope. Just get all the details in there. And remember, I know here in Florida, the last day to register to vote is October the 5th. Here, is that all over? I know here it's October the 5th.
You have until the 60th, but don't quote me on it.
Okay.
But I remember the last voting session, I believe that we had till the 7th.
Okay. Yeah. So make sure everyone get out. Early voting is a good thing. If you are able to do that in your states, wherever you are, please do that. It's been a pleasure. It's always a great pleasure with my sister Hope. I enjoyed myself. I'm excited. I just wish we could have been in person, but hopefully this will be behind us, and next year it's going to be bigger and better.
Always.
Yes, I'm anticipating. I know this is going to get behind us,
of course.
And so I can't wait. And I enjoyed this evening.
This is this is my favorite times of the month, is being able to come in, chat with you, check in with you, see what you got going, share ideas. So I'm always super excited. I can't wait for the march. I know that you're going to be over there supporting us from afar in Florida.
Absolutely.
And it's just going to be dope. And for all of the people that tuned in tonight, I hope that y'all make sure that you are in place, that you got your popcorn, that you and a couple of your sisters, your brothers, your others are watching us have this monumentous moment. I hope that if you register to host a watch party, that we get to check in with you. We're trying to check in with everybody. I'm trying to show love to all of my people. So if you want to talk and you like me and I like you, we're going to talk. We're going to have a little powwow maybe during.
Yes.
So register to host those watch parties. Make sure that you tell a friend to tell a friend, come over, make it a day. And let's just show some trans solidarity. But until then, I will see y'all on Saturday. And Tati and I will see you all around the way.
Yes, love you. It's been great, family. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.